In 2013, Nissan came out with an engine that was game-changing. An engine block that could be held by one man alone, could fit into a hand luggage basket, and created performance in some cases greater than F1. And then, the engine came, blew our minds, and then disappeared. So what the hell happened to the Nissan Di GT-R engine? The engine that looked to change the world. We'll take a look at its stunning engineering, what the hell happened to it, and also reveal a modern equivalent that you could technically put in your own car. Let's start with what this engine was. You could look at it on paper and just say it was a 3-cylinder 1.5-liter turbo. A Ford Fiesta ST has one of them that creates 200 horsepower. That's enough. Well, okay, but this Nissan engine creates double that power, but at a third of the mass. How does that work? Take a look at it, the Di GT-R engine, or DIG-TR. I like to call it the Diglet engine. Isn't it a good looking piece of kit? That billet block, the carbon bits all over it, those red Nismo accents. Imagine how good this engine would look in the engine bay of some MX-5 rivaling Nissan. The image that made it look the coolest was this press picture. That is the president of Nismo holding the Diglet engine without even breaking a sweat, like it's a potted plant. Every lightweight obsessed engineer would have seen that picture and thought, the PR spin on this lightweight engine was that it created 400 brake horsepower, but was only 40 kilograms, and could fit in the hand luggage checker at airports. Imagine being a Nissan engineer being asked to bring a spare engine to Le Mans from Japan and simply carrying it onto the plane, whacking it up into the overhead luggage compartment, or even under the seat in front of you. Let's dive into this thing's stats on paper. 3-cylinder turbo, 1.5 litres, 40 kilograms, 400 brake horsepower, and 280 pounds-feet of torque. Let's compare those figures to some of the best engines statistically ever made. We talk about power to weight ratios in cars, but let's narrow that down to engines. As you can see from this graph, the Diglet engine stands head and shoulders above some of the greatest engines to have graced this earth. At 10 horsepower per kilogram, it monsters any of the top-class road car engines, like Merc's 4-cylinder turbo and even the V8 from the Ferrari 458. It even manages to topple the greatest F1 engines from the last 30 years, even beating the V10 and V8 screamers from 25-30 years ago. Those only create 8.2 and 7.9 horsepower per kilo. Of course, if we go back to the crazy turbocharging days of the 1980s, even the mighty Diglet takes a hammering. The ultimate power to weight can be traced to the BMW M12 engine. Based on the standard M10 from the 60s, F1 engineers managed to coax that thing up to 1500 brake horsepower using 4 cylinders and a single massive turbocharger. Considering that thing got down to anywhere between 45 to 70 kilograms, whichever weight you pick, it blasts straight up to 21 to 33 brake horsepower per kilogram. But that defeats the point of the Nissan engine. This thing was designed during the era of downsizing, and Nissan wanted to prove that they could create serious power from a relatively frugal, small 3-cylinder engine. The best modern engine to compare it to would be the Yaris GR's 3-pot. That currently holds the record for the most powerful 1.6-liter production engine. The new one puts out 280 horsepower, which is pretty good for a 3-pot. Well done, Toyota. You still get eaten alive by Diglet. Sadly, it didn't ever find its way into a road car. Instead, it went into this crazy thing. This is the Nissan Z-Odd RC. You may think of it as the Nissan Delta Wing, but technically the Diglet only came around once Nissan had rebranded it the Z-Odd, something that triggered a lawsuit between the two companies that was settled out of court. The Z-Odd, standing for Zero Emissions On Demand, was a car that was entered into the Garage 56 experimental entry, the same space that the Chevy NASCAR took up in 2023. The aim for Nissan was to show all new levels of efficiency, combining that 3-cylinder engine with a hybrid system, but taking things a step further, aiming to set one fully electric lap per stint, essentially 1 per hour. The whole point in this car was to maximise efficiency, while still lapping at something resembling race pace at Le Mans. Its fundamental delta-wing look, reminiscent of all your favourite stealth aircraft, was designed to dramatically reduce aerodynamic drag due to a small frontal area. It accomplished that using a very sleek profile and a front track of just 61 centimetres versus a fairly normal rear track of 1.7 metres. The design also made it super light, just 475 kilograms, which suddenly makes the savagely light engine design make sense too. Add in the electric propulsion, allowing the engine some downtime every hour or so, and you've got a seriously efficient race car. Was it fast? Well, it qualified at the 2014 24 Hours of Le Mans with a 3-minute 50-second lap, placing it 27th on the grid and at the back of the prototypes, but ahead of the GT cars. It did manage to crack 300 km an hour down the Mulsanne Straight and was originally bench tested to be quicker than the early 2010s Indy cars, both in a straight line and through the corners. But sadly, it got let down by its gearbox, a very common issue in a 24-hour race, and only managed 6 laps of racing.